Good afternoon, everybody. It's about, 1:15, June 24th, 2024. Call this meeting to order. It's a workshop, Liberty County Commissioners Court. We have one agenda topic for this workshop. Receiving information regarding an application from Bennett Motors, for a foreign trade zone to be located south of Dayton along Highway 146. So we have the representatives from Bennett Motors here with us today. They've offered brochure, little printout explaining what they're looking for and why. So Catherine, do you want to start us out, or you want just Bennett Motors folks to come on up here and visit with us?
Judge, I'm going to turn this over to Bennett Motors.
Okay.
I have no knowledge of this project whatsoever.
Okay.
You gotta turn the mic on.
Oh.
So they can hear you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to turn this over to Bennett Motors. I
Yeah.
am unfamiliar with this project.
Yeah, you have to move your
That's
microphone
your
closer,
man.
like a lot closer.
A lot closer.
You know, not quite Johnny Carson closer, but close. There you go.
Well, I've always been told I kind of boom with
That's
the voice,
okay.
so I'm very careful with microphones.
Yeah, we're all hard of hearing anyway. It's okay.
As an introduction, I'm Troy Boring. I'm president of IMS Worldwide. Here in Liberty County, we play kind of a dual role. We work with companies that are asking for sponsorship in our foreign trade zone program that's controlled here out of Liberty County, Zone 171. It has been a foreign trade zone since the mid-90s. I could tell you it's been probably 12 to 13 years before I've been in, or since I've been in this room visiting with the County Commissioners Court. So I know it's, we've had a little bit of a turnover probably in the last 15 years. We've got kind of two things. I want to explain to you the project, what they're requesting, what the foreign trade zone program is, and give you some history on our program that's run through the county for Zone 171, because you are what is called the grantee, which is Liberty County Economic Development was a group that was created to manage the foreign trade zone in, man, I'm going to probably fib to you, but 94, I believe, was when it was established. John Hebert was the president from its inception until his passing. Right now, Kelly McDonald, the former city manager in Cleveland, longtime board member for the Grant of Authority Board, is now the president. And the rest of the board is made up of the city managers within Liberty County. The president is always an appointment that generally is done by the county judge in this process. Why we're here today is Bennett Motor Express. They are a individually family-owned business. They've been around for 50 years. In the sheet, we gave you their website so you can look up a little bit more about them. They're headquartered in McDonough, Georgia, but they do operate 20 facilities, a lot of which are here in Texas, and this will be a new one. They are part of a company that deals in the international transportation, logistics, freight forwarding, and warehousing business. That's what they do. So they, for this new site, which is just over 38 acres, located at 12859 Highway 146. Its mailing address is still Dayton, Texas, but I do believe it's right at the edge of the city limits. But they are putting in an offload yard to store project cargo, mainly for the plant development that we see going on in Port Arthur, Beaumont region, some in the Houston region, and then even some in Louisiana. So they want to be able to bring in some of these imported items. A lot of them will be machinery that will go and be installed in the plant. And most of the construction is not at a point where, they want the merchandise here before they finish construction. So they need these offload laydown yards, and they do not want to pay the federal duty or tax until it leaves to go to be installed. So it is a delay in the payment of the federal duty rate for this merchandise. The goods all travel in bond under U.S. Customs and Border Protection Authority. They will be held in the FTZ area under that same authority. And then they will move to go initially these first sets of projects to the construction sites of where the material is being held for. This material will be in containers. It'll be crated, and some of them may even be rather large pieces of equipment. Example of some would be a flare tower, things of that nature. So that is what they're doing on page 2 of the handout. And for those that are not in the room, we can get you an electronic copy of this as well. It shows a map of the area that they are requesting for foreign trade zone.
That would be appreciated.
We've also broken out in slide 5 a investment projection that they have for the site. It is going to be roughly a $10 million land improvement that they're doing at the facility. They are not building a big brand new building. They're going to do some upgrades to some of the property that's located there. Year 1, it's about 16 jobs. When they get to full utilization, they'll add another 17 and 23 in subsequent years. They're looking at that being the total employment for the site at 23, raising to that number. One of the reasons we have to come to Commissioner's Court, and again, the city of Dayton ISD, which I think is over that property, is because inside the federal foreign trade zone law that establishes the program nationally, there is an exemption to inventory tax in that process. It is a federal exemption, but because it potentially impacts taxing entities, we have to get letters from the taxing entities for obvious reasons. It is something that we have to bring forward. The interesting part for us here in Liberty County is the fact that we have not had a Liberty County site established in quite some time. We have done a lot of sponsoring in Chambers County. Chambers County falls under your jurisdiction as Zone 171. So this is the first project we've had in quite a long time in Liberty County. So that's why this request, I think, raised some questions as everybody, had the turnover, because I think it has been close to 15 years since we've been here to talk about a request. But that's where we are, why we have to present the case. The folks at Bennett Motor Express are not holding this material very long. So their understanding at this point is if the county doesn't want to recognize the federal exemption, the school district, all of those taxing entities, they're fine with that, because this is not an inventory tax holding program. This is, you get some of these big warehouses. That's what a lot of it is, they want that tax benefit. But, usually in those cases, they're building a brand new building, and the county historically has always said, if you have new development, you're building me a brand new building that I can tax, the inventory tax was irrelevant. And in a scenario like this, it is one where you still need to provide a letter, make a comment. If the county attorney decides they want to do a pilot agreement of some kind, just to ensure that payment will be collected under the foreign trade zone for the exemption, Bennett was happy with that. They'd be happy to share all of that information with the owners of the inventory that just may be there on assessment day. But the way these guys work, they're not the first company to do this type of operation. And the way most of the construction companies that own the material, the way they tend to do it is, it's a miracle they'll move it over to the plant and pay the federal duty right around, December 15th. So they're not even anywhere close to the assessment day. But that's why it's not important for this operation. These materials won't be, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. A lot of them will be in the months that they want to look at it. But the taxing entities that we will be continuing to get the information from is both the city of Dayton, of course, this body here, the Commissioners Court for Liberty County, and Dayton ISD is the other major one. The foreign trade zone itself has always protected like the collectible taxes that are being done now. Your grant of authority, the board that runs this foreign trade zone, has always said that if anybody ever activated like the rail yard at the old Sholander facility, that they would not get the tax benefit because the taxes there obviously impact everybody, and nobody wants to take away revenue from any taxing authority, right? So that's the way it works. What we've looked at over the years in the program, and the reason it was established in the 90s here in Liberty County, is because what we all hope it brings is new development in both real property, jobs, and the direct and indirect positive impacts that they have on the community and all the taxing entities. Those are the main reasons the program exists. Years ago, when it was established, IMS Worldwide assisted in the establishment of the zone. To this day, we assist the board in basic administrative tasks, things that they need help on. Ramey Gonzalez from my office, the reason she's here is because she's the one that works with the board quite often for everything from the billing of annual fees that the board collects to new applications. So we kind of, again, as I said earlier, we play a little double duty. We work for both the county board for the grantee, but we also end up working for companies that come into the program as well. The support letter that we're looking at covers a few things. And if you're looking here, it is at slide 8. Main thing that the Department of Commerce in Washington, D.C. wants to see from each of the taxing entities is a letter that says we acknowledge an understanding of the federal exemption. And in one of two ways, either we don't care if somebody takes it, or we've said that the person who's applying can't take it. Now, in this case, it's not something that really is being requested, but still, that is how the letter would need to be provided when we're talking about the application. And you can, I won't bore you with reading it verbatim, but it's in slide 8 that's there. But that's really where we're at. We need a letter ultimately from the county that says we're in support of the development of the FTZ. We can address however you would like, the tax issue, and put that in the letter to reinforce to the federal government what the stance is from Commissioners Court. But that's really the basics of the request for Bennett Motors and the development that they have at their site.
So what you're saying is you're building a truck terminal.
It's in a laydown yard, yeah.
In a laydown yard.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
sir. They'll have some. These are big pieces of equipment, so a warehouse is useless.
And out of the 38 acres, 2 acres are going to be where the duty-free goods will be stored.
Well, it'll be a portion of the 38 acres. At the application phase, you have to put all the property in. That's what the Department of Commerce wants.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will determine the need, right? They'll determine for what we call activation, whether it'll be 2 acres, 10 acres, whatever's needed, that's what they'll activate.
Okay. Go ahead in your brochure, only 2 of the 38 will be activated.
That's the initial thought
Okay.
at this point. Yes, sir. But you have to understand that they could expand to, nobody can expand to the full 38 because you have certain roadways and different things that aren't part of storage. But once this is approved at 38 acres, they can expand it or contract it, however their need arises.
Have you discussed this with the other taxing entities, Dayton ISD and City of Dayton?
We are still waiting on responses back from them. We're kind of suffering through the same thing as we've had a lot of turnover, and anybody that actually understood we had a foreign trade zone tends to not be there anymore. And so we're working through those entities as well.
Okay. 23 new jobs at the total build out. That's, I'm going to call it that total build out.
Yes,
is
sir.
Complete. What would the wages, did you anticipate the wages to be, and in what category?
I don't have that information, but we can certainly get it for you.
I'd like to know that too.
Yeah, you got it.
Bruce, you've been in the trucking business off and
Yeah, I'm
on.
quite familiar with Bennett. I've done a lot of work with Bennett throughout Indiana and other parts of the country on your heavy hauls, REL's heavy haul
Yeah.
division. And yeah, Bennett is widely known and recognized as a good trucking company. They will need that storage area for some of the large vessels that they'll probably be bringing in. The ingress and egress, has that been addressed at that location? I know it's
They
coming off
are
of the
still
state
going through
road.
all the engineering, but my understanding is yes, sir. They're that's part of the improvements. You know, they're going to be close to $10 million in improvements on that property. A lot of it is so they can hold the trucks, they can hold the material, and certainly manage the egress.
Yeah, when you're bringing 100,000 pound, 200,000 pound loaded equipment truck, you need the ground to hold up underneath it.
You can't throw it in the bed of my F-150 and let me
Yeah.
drive it. That is for sure.
How far out on State Highway 146 is going to be located? How far out on Highway 146 will this be located?
You know,
South of Dayton?
it is just at, I'm trying to see on the map.
I think it's just inside the loop, Jay.
Yeah.
I mean, the 99. Because this building, I'm familiar with this building that's sitting out there that
Yep.
they have a picture
Yeah.
of.
It's on the, I guess that's south end of the
Leon,
county.
you familiar with this, where this is located at?
I don't have any paperwork. I don't have anything that I can look at.
Oh, okay.
We show it to him, but we have to have the thing up. But you didn't give it to me.
Is it,
so-
would it be south of 14? Is it south of 1413?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually on the inside of 99.
Is it south of 1413?
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to pull it up. I'm not exactly for sure. That's why I'm trying to pull it up.
So it'll be in between the old American
Yeah,
Rice
it's
Dryer.
just north on 146 of the Union facility.
Make sure it's turned on. It's on.
Yeah, it's not right at Dayton, but it's within the,
Well, you're still in the city limits of Dayton if you run off 146.
yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. What I meant is downtown, it's not.
What's the frontage on 146?
The frontage, I do believe, is roughly 200 feet.
It's going to be deep.
Yeah, it's deep. Yes, sir. The most of the property's deep. Yes, sir.
And the improvements, the 10 million, is there anything that's going to have real property enhancement value? Or is this kind of like when you go in with the subdivision, you start moving dirt and it costs millions of dollars to move it, but it doesn't really provide
Well, I'm not sure.
taxable value?
Yeah, I'm not sure how your appraisal district looks at that, but it is going to be gravel yard. And right now it is undeveloped land.
Ag property.
Yeah, and so it is going to end up being, classified industrial, obviously. I think that's the classification we use here, forgive me. And then it will be, that improvement is the yard itself. So I don't know how your appraisal district looks at that. I know in Galveston County, that's where I live. They love tagging you when you improve, from dirt to an actual usable yard. They do consider that investment in the appraisal.
And that's not part of the exemption. The exemption's only on the inventory.
Only on inventory. Yes, sir. And it's only on inventory that is imported or being held for export.
Is it going to come off the rail or is it going to be trucked?
My understanding is it's going to be trucked because where they bring it up from the ship, it's going to come off, on our end here, Barber's Cut, or it'll come off on this end, they may use one of the Chambers County terminals that, holds project cargo, that's what we call it, but it'll be coming in through the Port of Houston. And
Not like the plastic pellets or anything else.
No, sir.
That
No, sir.
carries an inventory value on January 1.
no, because, well, anything that would happen to be there January 1 would be taxable. But the general idea with these yards is that's not a lot of inventory, which is the reason Bennett is like, my guys aren't using it for tax purposes. They're using it just to hold for the federal duty.
So we're exempting something that we wouldn't be taxing anyway.
More than likely, yeah. But like I said, it's one where you guys also have the freedom here. If you say we want them to pay it, nobody's going to complain. It's not going to cost you the project. You know what I mean? It's one of those types of things. We've got a lot of them that, like the Chambers County sites that are under your grant of authority as Liberty County. A lot of those sites are there for the federal duty benefit, but also the tax benefit.
And you don't feel like any of this product's gonna stay in Liberty County in the final phase? It's not to Port Arthur.
Correct.
Louisiana.
Correct. The site selection process from Bennett Motors was, this is close enough to the port for them to do what they need to do. You've got their ability to then move the merchandise to the ultimate destination with your, proximity to Interstate 10.
And they've already purchased the land, or they have it under contract?
I think has the purchase been finalized, Ramey? Or is it still under contract?
I think it might be still.
It's still under contract, but it's not finalized.
Yeah, I don't know where it's at. All I can
Yeah,
do-
it's, when you pull it up on Google Maps, it's just to if I'm coming up 146 from my neck of the woods, it is just north of where the Union facility is. It's that next building, I think, that's up there is where it starts going back.
And it's on the left. It'd be on the west side?
Yeah,
You mean the Union Pacific facility?
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the same side of the road as the Union facility.
okay, so it would be on the, actually north of 146. North side.
Yeah. I always say north because I'm going straight. But yeah, when I'm coming 146 into Dayton, it's on the same side of the road as the Union facility. And it's just, as you get a little bit closer in, it's right there.
There's a rice dryer, there's a concrete yard, there's things that are north, or further north of that. But if it's only 200 feet, you're not gonna, that's just a runway
Correct.
going in
Now,
there.
is this property, is this property being bought or is it being leased?
My understanding is it's under contract. I think they purchased it, is my understanding. Because I didn't have to go talk to a landlord.
Yes, that's what I believe.
So it is, based on your comment, it is being purchased.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So, you also have to contend with evidently the railroad tracks crossing those, getting into this location.
I think it's on the side without the railroad.
Okay, so it
Crossing.
would be on the south side,
Yeah, it's
south side of 146. And correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't 146 go east and west?
No,
No, it goes north and south.
So it'll be on the west side.
it's on the east side. Most
Okay,
of the rails
east
on
side,
your west
yes,
side.
Okay.
so this will be on the east side.
Yes, sir.
I'm
It's
looking-
it's on the Sterling side.
Yeah.
Not on the railroads.
Okay. I kept saying railroad, I was looking on 90 instead of 146. My
I'm sure
mistake,
it's wrong.
my bad.
So are we talking the buildings that are sitting, just north of the old, beer joint there?
No, Leon, we're not to own that.
Huh?
No, that's a place that old, refab shop.
Yeah,
We've actually, yeah, we're actually have foreclosed on that 5 years due to non-payment of taxes, but it's
Okay.
not that place. I wish it was. So,
well, he's saying it's to the east side. I can't,
Well, that's, yeah, but it'd be on the Sterling side, which would be on that same side if that's what we're talking about. But I was thinking it was on the other side, but that's all developed and part of the rail yard, really.
okay.
But it's only 200 feet wide, so I mean, it could just be a sliver of that, that acreage going deep, and it's going towards, to the east.
Is this the Sterling property?
Well, it's right around there if it's not.
And I'm not sure who the purchase is being made through. So I just know Bennett is the one buying. I don't know who's selling.
After this meeting, I can go find out and definitely answer those questions for the commission.
And
Okay,
any questions, we're writing them down here. We will absolutely take them back to Bennett for any answers that you guys need as well.
There was I hope you can hear me. There was some land in that area that Dayton recently annexed. Is that it?
It may be.
Okay.
It may be. I just know we're part of the city limits, which is why we've got to go talk to the city.
I got a map that looks like the same area that the city of Dayton annexed a little section that runs all the way to or close to South Winfrey from 146 in that area around the Sterling stuff. Is that it, you think?
This has been part of Dayton city limits for
Oh, this has already been there?
So it's already been there.
15, 16 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they
Or
connected a
no longer
piece
than that.
through there
Yeah.
recently, so
Right.
I thought that might have something to do with it.
It's probably been there 20 years under Dayton. Okay.
So part of our issue as well is we've put into this document package, because I wanted to take the time as well to just give you guys a FTZ primer. Because again, I know Commissioners Court has obviously changed since all of this was established. And we had to come to Commissioners Court when I mentioned 15 years ago. It was around 2007, 2008, give or take, where we reorganized the foreign trade zone to make it easier for companies like Bennett to come in. And that was kind of the last time I think we addressed anything. We also, I forget which county judge it was, but we were asked by the federal government to sponsor the Conroe application, and then Conroe got a little snippy and whined and cried that they didn't want to be subservient to Liberty County, and the Montgomery County judge and everybody, they showed up at a public hearing for they had applied, and our county judge from here, as well as the board members that could attend, all testified that, we put in all this work because you guys told us to sponsor it. And then, Conroe basically, the county judge over there from Montgomery County basically said derogatory things about Liberty County and not wanting to participate. And I just remember at that public hearing, we were at a table like this, and I forget the county judge's name at the time, but I had to make him sit back down because he was ready to get up and express his displeasure at the language. But that was, again, somewhere around 08, 09, we had that come about as we were dealing with a few things. But since then, obviously, we've got new members of the Commissioners Court. We've got new county judge. We got new personnel. And because we've not had a Liberty County application until this time, we want to make sure you guys have the information. And so without sounding like a school teacher and giving you a history lesson, I'll give you a little bit of the history lesson, but also in this material, there's basic information about what a foreign trade zone is. So we have always worked under the assumption, because during the reorganization, I think Bill Scholander still owned the property over there at the rail yard, and Bill invested quite a bit of money in putting the non-rail yard areas that he had into the zone. And that was, again, going back quite a ways. But we had a lot of marketing education that we had provided. We've always worked very closely with the EDC in the area, and in fact, we hold the board meetings generally at the Dayton EDC office. I think it's where we've had them in the past, but we're required to at least have one board meeting a year. We're scheduling the next one in July, if we can get everybody scheduled to work. But the general idea has always been from the FTZ Grant of Authority Board here, the Liberty County Economic Development, is they've never taken a position to instruct the taxing entities on what they need to do. Now, back in the day, the taxing entities all looked at it and said, if it builds me new property, I could care less about the inventory tax, right? If I can put new buildings in. And historically, I don't think that was ever a written policy. That was just sort of what everybody that was working at the time understood would be the way they looked at it. That was both through Liberty City and Liberty, or City of Dayton as well. And then both ISDs were basically told, you guys can do what you think you need to do to protect the revenue of the school districts. Because nobody, when we created this program, was going to use it to remove taxable personal property, right? That was never the intention. Nobody was ever going to do that. But that's sort of the history of how the Commissioners Court and everybody treated it. Was new development, they would normally in the past go, we don't care, because you're going to build a new building. If you give me a $10 million building or a $20 million building that I can tax for real property, then the inventory tax was not a concern.
But at this point in time, they're not building a new building.
They're not building a new building. Yes, sir.
And like you said, they're not going to have their inventory there long enough to tax.
More than likely. You may get some pieces that you can tax at that assessment day, but it's not enough where that's a big concern for the users of the Bennett Motors zone that will be established.
So it's just a lay down yard, correct?
Yes, sir.
No buildings.
No building, no building. These and to be perfectly honest, the last one, the Zone 171 sponsored, was in Baytown, and we sponsored it. They paid their fees to the grantee, and they were a good zone operator. But when that company stopped shipping material over into Beaumont and Port Arthur, they removed it. So this may go 2, 3, 4 years, not the yard, but the zone. And if they are not utilizing the zone, then they may deactivate it. Who knows? Or they may just draw it down to such a small area that, it's for 1 or 2 pieces. But the 38 acres is going to be a facility for Bennett Motors, period. Because they will have, as you can tell, we're talking originally at 2 acres to be activated. Well, there's 38 acres there. They're thinking of this as more than just a foreign trade zone. This will be a domestic inventory laydown yard, which that doesn't have any exemption anyway. So if there's domestic product over there, you're taxing it anyway.
Well, what concerns me, knowing Bennett's business, knowing how they work, it seemed like a poor choice of area, since super loads basically cannot come from Dayton towards that way. They got to navigate the bridge and everything else. And I have routed many heavy loads through there that we've had to cut up down 2100 or something to get to 90 just to get through Dayton.
Yeah.
How are they planning on navigating through there?
Well, their intention right now is that any of the property that's FTZ, where they would have some of the larger cargo, is going to basically come out and go left towards I-10. And I would assume they've figured out how the routing will work. I don't do that business for them, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I just know that their issue is that most of where this material is going to go is east on I-10.
You said if it's coming from the port, they'll never come through Dayton anyway. Because
Right.
they're coming
Yeah,
south,
they'll
they're
be
gonna
coming,
come up
yeah.
46, then they're gonna go back down to 10 and take a left. I mean, which is great, but it's not coming
Yeah.
from Dayton.
Yeah.
You get behind those things,
Oh, yeah. I think any of the material that may go elsewhere are some of their domestic things, which are smaller, you know. You got containers as well.
Yeah.
Of parts that may go through there. And, you know, those types of things may not go that route, but those are also normal size loads.
Now, you said fees paid to the grantee. What describe those things?
So every applicant pays to the Liberty County Economic Development Board, that is the grantee administrative office. They pay an application fee, they pay an activation fee, and then they pay an annual fee for all the years they're up and operating. And the annual fees that the board has been able to collect from the activated operators in Chambers County actually saved our foreign trade zone, because with no activity, there was no money. I mean, it was just nothing done. So, you know, the annual fee, the board will use to, not for this meeting, because this has been at Motors, but like when we help do the annual meetings and things, they have a nominal set of fees they pay us to help, but they also have their other, I guess, expenses or whatever that they use that money on. But right now, we're helping them with billing, because it is an all volunteer board. There is no paid staff. So.
Okay. Well, you have a few questions that you can get back to us without
Yes,
that
sir.
on. And I'm sure we'll meet again.
Well, I know traditionally, and I won't make an assumption here, I'll just say traditionally, the county commissioners has usually had to meet and put it on an agenda and vote for giving the letter. Okay, that's just traditionally what has been done.
Right.
I deal with some counties where, you know, if they're the sponsoring grantee, which even though it's Liberty County Economic Development, it's still a county subsidiary. Is that a better? I don't know how I would say it.
The Liberty County Economic Development is, I would say, an offshoot of the Commissioners Court, and any action they take has to be ratified by the Commissioners Court.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But yeah, so you probably would need to bring this up as an agenda item and have you guys vote on it.
Absolutely. I would agree.
Jay,
Yeah.
from what I'm looking at, it appears to be the part of that, Sterling property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just north of it.
Yeah,
That's right up the county line.
Invite that Denny sent out should have just received our.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else got any more questions? Rick, do you have anything? All right.
You should check your email, sir, because I think we finally got the presentation sent to you. You can.
yeah, I'm looking at it. Thank you.
Great.
Dwayne, you got any questions?
No.
Huh?
He said no.
None.
The last handout I have for you is not a recommendation for your letter, because I'm not allowed to do that. But it is a sample of how a normal commissioner court letter would need to be addressed. So you guys certainly have our permission to use it in whatever manner, to chew it up, turn it around, change it. But we wanted to make sure you guys had a copy of what a normal letter looked like. I have to stress, it is not a recommendation from us, because you guys are independent. You guys do what you need to do.
Thank you.
But it is a go by, for lack of a better word.
Thank you.
Catherine, you have anything else?
No, Your Honor, I'm sure that I will have questions at some point. I would encourage that the court put this on a regular agenda, maybe perhaps include an executive session, and then we can vote accordingly. How quickly, what's the turnaround for this?
Well, they're chomping at the bit right now, because it's taken us a little while to kind of get everything running through the systems
Sure.
here. We would certainly like to have the letter by the end of July at the latest. Bennett has still got a lot of things, so it's not like they're going to be bringing cargo in by August or anything. But we would certainly like to have everything settled so we can, with all the entities, so we can file 1st of August, and that'll give us time to kind of process it through.
The court meets the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month, so I'm sure by that, perhaps that second Tuesday in July,
It's the 23rd, I think.
the 23rd, we may be able to get something on the agenda.
Okay.
We're going to get all of our questions submitted, and the answers you have for us, you can send them back to us. By that time, we can put it on the agenda and have it executive session,
Perfect.
then move off into the regular session.
Excellent. When again, you guys have copies of this presentation. The back end of the presentation that I didn't bore you with is really a very good primer and education on foreign trade zones. I am looking at this, put my Liberty County hat on, as the person that assists the board. I think this is where we start cracking that egg. People coming this way from Chambers County, and this may be something I don't want to jinx myself, but this may be something we talk about quite a bit, because we do have a lot of interest in development in Liberty County starting to bubble. So hopefully this won't be the first time we have this discussion.
Yeah, we've noticed that. Okay. All right. Well, thank y'all. Any other questions while we have the opportunity? If not, then we'll call this meeting adjourned. And it's what time, Lee?
156.
1:56.